Right now, it is time for Jim Lynch and Cover Your Assets, the first of the year. Good morning, Jim.
And good morning to you. Excuse me. Happy New Year to everybody. 12 degrees. Wow. Very warm.
Well, we go we go from 12 degrees to days where we have 40 degrees, and back to days where we have 12 degrees. It's either mud or frozen here this year. Honest to gosh,
We'll get through it.
it goes.
We'll get through it.
Yeah, we can get through just about anything.
Right. Exactly.
Well, here we are, Jim. It's Tuesday, January 4th, 2022. And we look back on a year that has been just an upheaval year. We thought that hopefully 2021 wouldn't be as crazy as 2020, but it turned out to be crazy.
I know. This is a rough patch we've been going through. And 22 looks pretty difficult. It's very difficult to figure the pandemic, obviously, particularly since I'm not a scientist, but it is having a tremendous impact now on people because most people have never experienced anything like this, and psychologically, it's affecting people. I think a lot of the violence, unprovoked, that's been occurring in big cities is basically caused by this overall fear and worry and concern. Plus, I'm afraid there's a lot of mental illness out there that adds to it. Let's do this, though. Let's segue to some people we missed towards the end of the year. The great Betty White. We've seen a tremendous amount about her. I don't have to really talk about her history, but she was an incredible human being because her approach to life, I have life, I'm going to live it to the best, I'm not going to worry, I'm going to take my falls and enjoy my highs. And she's a great example for how human beings should do their best to live their lives. And for those of you who have teenagers or younger children, you might want to use that in a conversational piece. Anyhow, we are confronted now with the need to basically spend more money to get this economy moving in the right direction, and that is not so much up, but kind of sideways. We need to really do a job on our infrastructure. We're really behind. And if you look at the headlines, China is really moving. It's moved so much. I was there 20 years ago, and I can't believe. I thought they had a tremendous engine of being able to get it done, but they've surpassed whatever I was thinking. We also have on the front now dual problems with the Chinese over competitiveness and the Russians, who basically could be a last gasp for Putin, in that if he loses a lot of soldiers, which he might, if indeed we have a conflict, and then really out in the open in the Ukraine, it could be the catalyst for the beginning of a revolution in Russia. I'm probably more hopeful and realistic, but that's something we have to consider as we move forward. In terms of investing, it's interesting. I was doing a little research, and our debt has grown so dramatically. In 2010, the federal debt was $6 trillion. That's 2010. That's $6 trillion. 2019, it's now 10 trillion. I think I misspoke. 6 trillion in 10, now 10 million in 19, and probably going on its way to 12 or 13 trillion. Now, why is this important? Firstly, it was important that the Fed support the economy at various times during the 2004 through 2010. But I think they've overdone it, and they're being forced now because of the pandemic and because of the need to feed people and take care of them. So that debt is probably going to go up to give or take, 13, 14 million, trillion rather. Here's the point. The point is the Fed must periodically readjust itself in terms of the debt. They can't let it get out of control. And that means they will eventually have to stop easing and actually put the brakes on and start taking money out of the system. As I mentioned on the show previously, this probably won't occur immediately, but it's going to have to occur. It's going to have to occur. And that means that treasuries, U.S. Treasury bonds, which are very safe, but they are dramatically overpriced in terms of other instruments, but more importantly, in terms of the inflation which we're going to have. For instance, the 5-year U.S. Treasury is about a 130, and the 10-year about a 165. My recommendation at this moment, I'm a believer in getting out sooner than later, is begin selling all treasuries 5 years and longer, go into a money market fund, go into possible municipal short, go into corporate debt short. But the government market is just it's just not cheap. It's too rich. Also, in terms of the stock market, as we know, we've had an incredible run, and it's hovering at the highs now, and might stay there for a bit going into the new year. But at year end, you should always adjust your portfolio. You should figure out how you're doing on each stock. And if you have a substantial gain in the stock, it's just not the gain. You've got to look at what the price-earnings ratio is. And if the price-earnings ratio is high vis-a-vis the group that this company is in, then you paw back, you sell X amount. I'm not talking about wholesale selling, but I am talking to get yourself a little bit skinnier in terms of something happening, be it on the financial front or on the international front. And if you've made a lot of money, which most of you have, there's no reason why you shouldn't take profits. Bulls and bears make money. That's all I'm saying. Pigs normally lose. So it's nice that a lot of people have profits. They should take them far back, get out of weak sisters, and just be careful going through the beginning of this year. Very important, probably more important than investing, is your health. These are difficult times and difficult to get doctor's appointments and so forth. But it's time for you to really focus on what you're eating. If you are exercising, if you're not exercising, you can do exercises at home. You don't have to go to a gym. And you can certainly eat healthfully. There's plenty of food available to us. The other thing is psychology. We have to somehow keep up our optimism, like a Betty White would keep up her optimism when times are tough. The reason being, if you don't, you get draggy and you don't do things you should do. And lastly, on this point, your children, grandchildren, we need to keep in touch with everybody. We need to chat. We need to not complain and commiserate all the time. We need to have some joyful conversation. The Zoom is great for contacting your grandkids and your kids. The phone probably works best, but this is really better investment advice than anybody can give you at this time in our country in terms of what we're going through. So that's my 5 minutes.
I want to talk, when you talk about deaths, I want to talk about John Madden. And I know, yes, there's people out there saying, John Madden, he was just a football announcer. He was far more than a football announcer. Here's the amazing thing about John Madden. He was a college football player. He was never going to make it as a player. He became a coach. By the way, his winning percentage is second to none. Nobody's even close to it. He had a 75% winning percentage. 75% winning. Almost 8 games out of every 10 games, his teams won. But here's something that John Madden did that I don't see anybody in media today. He did not like to fly. So when he stopped coaching and started being a broadcaster, he used to travel the country in a bus.
Right, I remember that.
And here's the whole thing. When you think of John Madden, when he traveled that bus, everybody that went on him with that bus was amazed because every time they stopped, what he loved about the bus is he would get out, and might be a chili joint, it might be a restaurant, but he would get out and meet with people and talk with people. And they knew who he was. And he would talk to them about football, about where they lived, about what they did, bump up, get back on the bus, go to the next stop, do the same thing. He did this for over 15 years, working for CBS and ABC and NBC. And when he passed away, people finally realized you take anybody that's on television today, I don't care whether they're a baseball commentator, a football commentator, a news commentator, people had opinions on them about their politics. Nobody, and I mean nobody, it doesn't matter if you were black, white, red, orange, purple, didn't matter whether you were a Democrat, Republican, didn't matter whether you're a conservative, didn't matter whether you're a liberal. Nobody looked at John Madden that way simply because he one-on-one could connect with people. And he doesn't need just one bust in the Hall of Fame. He needs three, one for a broadcaster, one for a coach, and one for somebody who really, truly was a stand-up guy and a guy for people that everybody, didn't matter who they were, could trust and get along with. He was an amazing man. In his 85 years, what he did through football, he was just an amazing man. And we need more. We need more John Maddens, and I'm sorry they're not out there.
Unfortunately, at the moment, they're not. He was bigger than life. He was a joy just to watch, be it broadcasting or just watch him, relating to people in his very direct, simplistic way. But you could always tell the truth with John. He was not a phony. And he's missed. He's missed tremendously.
He didn't
It goes to show you, though, this country has produced some incredibly great people who kind of came from a lot of different places, but they took advantage of what the country offers. And one of the things that they did was, as you said with John, he connected. And right now we need more of that connection. We need to forget the partisan politics and everything else, and just relate to people in a very sincere, healthy manner. It's really very uplifting when you have just a normal conversation with somebody about anything, particularly nowadays when it seems like the sky will fall down. So, two people we've mentioned here, Betty White, John Madden, and greatness has been achieved by people who came from modest circumstances, but they basically worked hard and took advantage of what was offered to them as Americans. I've mentioned several times over the years, the one key ingredient that I think a lot of Americans have lost is gratefulness. They lack gratefulness for the country they're born in, the freedom they have, and their ability, if they wish, to prosper, to get educated, to go into all different types of businesses. Now, the gratefulness, if you don't express it at least inwardly, but certainly outwardly, you kind of go in on yourself. You're missing a key ingredient of being a person. Because what is life? Life is being happy the best you can, getting up when you're down. But it's about sharing with your family, sharing with your friends, sharing with your business associates. Not necessarily for business, but just for the great feeling of being a human being. That is not a trite statement, by the way. Human being. We are human beings, and we've been blessed with life. We have to take advantage of what we have as long as we have it. And we have to be kinder to people, kinder to ourselves, and we've got to stop this againstness. This one's wrong, that one's wrong. I mean, it's pathetic in sports, various sports. You know, these people, it's like the media. They need a story so they can stand out and earn their paycheck. But it's very, you know, there have been some very great baseball players, but there have been a lot of good baseball players. And the same in football. And so when a guy gets into trouble on the field or he's not doing well and so forth, you know, getting down on somebody like that, you take yourself down because human nature is positive. And if you get into it, if you understand it, if you live it, you're going to be much happier.
All right, I want to end our conversation with some good news where you can beat your chest as an American. The Ford Motor Company has beat out Tesla to become the auto industry's top growth stock in 2021. Their stock rose about 140% in the last year. Basically, since Jim Farley took over as CEO 15 months ago, their stock is up more than 200%. Now, you take a look at that and you compare it to Tesla, which was up 49%, Lucid 41%, Volkswagen 41%, General Motors 40%. Ford is a company that it still has a ways to go because its market cap is a little low, but it'll grow. But it is the one motor company outside, well, Tesla wasn't around at the time, that did not take the bailout money. They took assets they had and they sold certain assets off and they continued on. They did not take bailout money from the government. And now they are putting out a line of cars and trucks that sell. They are going full head steam on into the electric automobile industry. And I just wanted to bring that up, Jim, because sometimes you look at American industry and you look at it as a dinosaur. And here's a company, like I said, its market cap still has a ways to go, but here is a company that is on the right track, doing the right things, and it's an amazing turnaround. And as I said, there was no federal money involved in their turnaround at all.
It's absolutely marvelous. As a kid growing up, Ford was really one of the cars that you liked or you wanted or whatever. And it's just amazing. It's what I said earlier in terms of ingenuity and the hard work. They would give it up for dead almost a couple of years ago, and they just turned it around. And, you know, we have many great stories, but Ford is kind of unique in that it is a very American company. I mean, they're all American companies, but some have more of a label than others. And there you go. I mean, things can get done in this country, and God forbid we go down the hole of fascism. We will definitely regret it because we'll be giving up golden opportunities. Fascism equals authoritarianism equals the small guy takes it in the chin. The rich get wealthier, and then eventually it implodes, as it did with Hitler and Mussolini, and also with the Russians, if you recall, in 1992. Fascism doesn't work because it doesn't include all the people, which gets back to what I was saying earlier about the human being. If we work together and laugh together and build ourselves up together, we will be successful as human beings, and that's what has made America great. If you look around and see all of the people who've immigrated here and have been very, very successful, be they the Chinese, the Japanese, Iranians, whatever you want, one of the things you kind of hear in the stories of success of these people, they're so grateful for having to be able to come to this country with their family, to be safe, to create opportunities via education or in business. And again, we Americans have got to appreciate what we have. And this muddling around in the street and the yelling and the screaming, that's insane. It's insane for each individual who does it because they're going against themselves, not only against their country, but against themselves.
All right, let's wrap up the day by wishing Eli Manning a belated birthday. He turned 41 yesterday.
My goodness. A great one. A great one.
Number 10, Eli Manning.
Amen. Amen.
All right, Jim. We'll speak.
Everybody.
We'll speak to you next week.
You got it. Take care of yourselves.
All
Talk
right.
to you. Bye.
Bye-bye. Jim Lynch and Cover Your Assets this morning here on the Breakfast Club on Robin Hood Radio.